My name is Austin Ford. This is my video submission for the leadership management position. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to look at this and considering me as a candidate. This is the first time I've done a video submission where everything is pre-recorded and submitted, but that's given me some time to really look at the questions and think about how I want to answer them and do a little research into why I answered them the way that I did. Hopefully this will give you a good look at my leadership style, who I am as a person, and my approaches to dealing with employees, whether that be new hires or current employees, as well as my approaches to resolution and conflict, whatever else is needed. So I've prepared a presentation to go along with this video submission that we'll get into right now. Again, thank you for taking the time to look at this. This is going to be the presentation portion for my leadership management interview. Delving into it, my personal leadership philosophy is really to lead by example. Kouzes and Posner do an excellent job of addressing this in their book, and they refer to it as modeling the way. And really what it boils down to is being willing to do anything that you're asking your employees to do. I found that, when you do this and lead by the example, employees, are more willing to follow you and, trust in what you're doing. Some of the qualities I believe to bring to the organization would be honesty and a straightforward approach. What you see is what you get. I'm not trying to, trick anybody or, say one thing to employees and say something else to, my manager, my boss. I believe that, an honest and open approach to dealing with situations yields the best results. And then two other strengths that I think I would really bring are, challenging the way things are done. Kouzes and Posner talk about this, and, sometimes there's a better approach to doing something. And especially when you're coming into a new organization, a fresh set of eyes can really be good for looking at, how certain things can change for the better. And experimenting with different methods of doing something really yield a great result. However, it is scary for employees when a manager comes in and wants to make big changes, and that's why I think it's important to break it down into smaller steps. A lot of times those can be a lot less scary, and employees are much more willing to get on board with the new vision. And lastly, I'm humble with my work and what I do. That's important for receiving feedback from employees. I may think I'm doing something great, but if no one is, trusting in my vision or thinking that, I believe in anybody and I'm just doing it by myself, then, I'm not going to be successful. I think humility and being able to learn from your mistakes are vital to success. Two of my biggest weaknesses are letting go of control and being overly pessimistic. I tend to think, the worst or jump to the worst case scenario in a lot of instances when I need to step back and realize, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. Let's look at how we can fix this problem. And then letting go of control, a good example of that would be intubations. I worked at a hospital where the RTs did all the intubations, and I then moved on to other hospitals where we didn't, and it was very difficult giving up that control and trusting that someone else can accomplish that same task. It's really just about trusting the people that you've instilled to work with you and beside you. So moving on to how I deal with employees, my approach to dealing with employees can really be summed up by coaching. Goldman talks about this, and basically it's the idea that you're motivating your employees to learn and work through the process rather than just sending them out to sink and swim. You're really helping them through each step of the way so that they can be set up to be successful. And then I also believe in giving frequent feedback rather than just an annual evaluation. I think it's important when employees get that good positive feedback. And Luthans talks about the positive reinforcement, and when employees regularly receive that, they tend to be more enthusiastic about taking on new projects, and they oftentimes tend to work harder to finish projects. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what Kouzes and Posner talk about by encouraging the heart. You're really trying to set employees up to be confident, and when they're confident in what they're doing, they tend to take a lot more pride in their work. as well. Like Hellinghouse and Myers address this by giving more responsibility to employees. Again, when employees tend to, get a little bit more responsibility, they tend to be more confident in what they're doing because they've, been successful. As they become more successful, they take on more responsibility. They become, happier with their work, and they tend to, strive a little bit harder to really continue to meet that high expectation. For new hires, I believe most importantly is looking at new hires who are willing and wanting to be a leadership, wanting to be leaders through showing improvement. Badger talks about this, and really kind of what it means is he looks at the original definition for leadership and found that it means to continue to strive to make improvements. And I think when I'm hiring new employees, that's what I'm looking for, is people that are motivated to work hard and always look for new and innovative ways to accomplish a task. And in that same vein, I also want people who are open-minded, because if someone's closed-minded, I can't teach them anything. As long as you're open to new ideas, then we can be successful together. And lastly, my approach to firing and discipline. For discipline, I believe in a three-strike system, and that's not just three strikes, you're out. Along the way, we'll address, once you get to two strikes, how can we, assist you and coach you to, being successful so you don't repeat this problem. However, if you have gotten that, three-strike system and it's time for, you to move on, I think a direct and honest approach is the best way to do it. As long as, it's been documented, where the employee has, made their mistakes, and where intervention is, we've tried to help them move past this, but it's not been successful, then just a direct approach of it's time for you to move on, I believe is the best way to go about it. Here's a list of references for my presentation. Again, thank you for listening. I just concluded the interview and presentation portion for my leadership management position. Now I'm going to make a case for the grade I think I deserve in the class. I believe I should get an A. I've, consistently put forth the effort to, meet or exceed all the goals following the rubric for all assignments, whether that be, striving to make sure everything was submitted on time, and that I put in the extra research, looking for additional sources and not just using, the textbook for the class. And I did that for every assignment with the exception of the very first discussion board post, which I was not able to meet the deadline. The content was there, but the deadline, I wasn't able to submit everything on time. But I received the feedback for that and adjusted my approach, and from there moving forward, every other assignment I received an A. And currently I still hold an A in the class, and I've put a lot of effort into this project as well, and I believe that in addition to the previous work with the work that I'm doing now, again, I feel I should have and have earned an A in the course.